Okay, I'm back for part two. All right, let's pick off where we left off. We see Middle English is abbreviated. Sorry. Middle English is a form of English language that was spoken after the Norman conquest of 1066 until the late 15th century. So we know that the word or the term Jew as a surname, all right, we're not using it loosely or abstractly. We're associating the name as a surname when a surname denotes to a group of people. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? The word Jew denotes to a group of people, a surname, a nationality. So if you have a nationality with the word Jew, you better belong to the English family because that's where the name Jew or the term Jew or the surname Jew originated in Middle English. And Middle English came in with the Norman conquest when Norman conquest was united with the families, what we call France and what we call England, which were actually won to the Plantagenet crown under Godfrey the Fifth, Count of Anjou, son of Folk, ruler of Jerusalem. All right, you have to know this. All right, so we see Middle English. The history of the Jews in England goes back to the reign of William the Conqueror. This is your proof, y'all. This is your proof. You don't have no proof with the book written by King James because King James was one of the compilers of information that was written long before him. The only real source you can truly use is William Tinsdale. Because William Tinsdale was one of the individuals who had the ability to be able to study in one of the what they call King's College, not Point Stuff, not King's College. I think it was Oxford University. All right, William Tinsdale. Everybody needs to look him up. William Tinsdale. So the history of Jews in England goes back to the reign of William the Conqueror, although it is likely that there have been some Jews present in the Roman period. There is no definite evidence and no reason to suppose that there was any community during the Anglo-Saxon time. The first written record of Jewish settlement in England dates from 1070. The Jewish settlement continued until King Edward I's Edict of Expulsion in 1290. Did you hear that? 1290. The Jews didn't get expelled from England. I don't know about what other stories they're talking about from some explosion, some explosion from some land that belongs to them that we can truly validate, other than the one I'm giving you today that deals with the history of the Jews in England under Edward I when he expelled them from England. All right. And we know that the Hebrew calendar says that, let's go back here, 6,000 years, under Gregorian year. It said, by this calculation, the end of the 6,000 years would occur at nightfall of the 16th September in the year 2240. So we're talking about the Jews, all right, and their return to the Messiah. And as we know that their end creation and the creation story and the judgment story has been come to its completion, all right, as calculated by the Gregorian calendar, as they said, the year 2240. So the year 2240 in the Gregorian calendar in the Berber year is symbolic to the time that the Jews were expelled from England in 1290. When did it say the Jews were expelled from England in 1290? It says 1290. King Edward I of the Plantagenet crown expelled all the Jews in what we call the Edict of Expulsion. This is historical records. All right. Let's go to the year 1290 AD, not BC, AD. because the Jews are based off the abstract story is BC. We're not dealing with BC because we know BC is the abstract story because the story told by Julian calendar only started in 45 BC. We know that the Berber calendar was existed long before BC. And we know that the Berber calendar is still in existence to the present day because the Berber calendar today is 2973. So that means that the Berber calendar stories and events based off the customs traditions has been preserved. How we know that? You just go to the year 12 what is it? 1290. All right, I better listen to me. It says 2240 AD of the Gregorian year. We're using the Gregorian year. All right, we're using the Gregorian year. We know that the Jews were expelled based off the abstract story, but the only true story you can get based off some exposure of people identified as Jews. We know Jews were in England because that's what the surname given to them, according to their coming into England with William the Conqueror in 1066. All right, and we see right here it says that in 1290, which is under Gregorian year, and the Berber year, the year will be what? 2240. You see it right here, y'all. Who was the English king? Edward I. All right, Edward I. You don't see an English king till 1066. You don't see an English king till 1066, William the Conqueror. Let's look it up. Ten 66. As you can see, English king Regnal year. All right, English king Regnal year. Let me just click that for some clarity. As you can see, our ancestors were Berber kings. It says the Regnal year of English and British miners are official Regnal years of the miners of the Kingdom of England from 1066. Did y'all hear that? We know William the Conqueror invaded England. William the Conqueror invaded England in 1066. We just witnessed it. He was the king at that time. English Regnal year, William the Conqueror. Everybody see that? William the Bastard. So this when all the children became bastards. All right? Because you lost your right to descend from those who were descendants of those who were identified with the gods. All right? You became a bastard. You were cut off. All right? As a result of what we call the English Regnal year. And the English Regnal year was a result of William the Conqueror, as it just said it. And this transition on to present day. The Regnal year of English and British miners are the official reigning years of the monarchy of the Kingdom of England from 1066. The Kingdom of Great Britain from May 1707, i.e. the Treaty of Union, when England united with Ireland, okay? And then 1801 with Scotland. United with Scotland, and then 1801 with Ireland. From 1707 to January 1801, the United Kingdom since January 1801. The Regnal calendar 9th year of the reign of King X, abbreviated to NX, etc., continues to be used in many official British governmental and legal documents of historical interest, notably parliamentary statutes. Did you hear that? Did y'all hear that? Okay, so we know that English kings came in with 1066. So what was the English? What were the kings styled as before those came in with William the Conqueror? Let's go back to 950. You don't see an English king. 950. One second. Yeah, I better follow the paper trail I'm laying down for y'all. So I don't want no excuses. Didn't know. Year 950. You see any English king here? None. You don't see it until 1066. But you see a Berber calendar there. All right. And you go to 1 AD, when Christ is there, 1 BC, you still don't see an English king there, do you? No, because they were all Berber kings, all Anglo-Saxon Berber kings. All right, let's continue on with this marvelous lesson. We know that the Jews were expelled in England in 1290. We know 1290 and in the Gregorian year, the Berber year is in the Berber year is 2240, and in the Gregorian year, it's actually styled 1290. We know 1290 the Jews were expelled from England under Edward the First. Edward the First was a part of the Plantagenet crown. So once again, if you're so-called associated with, as we said, the Jews, whatever clique you claim to be a part of, you must know this history, because if you don't, you're going to be in a world of trouble. Why? Why do I say that? Let me show you. Just close some of these windows here, so I won't be confused. All right, let's move forward. Okay, let's go ahead now. Okay, so back to the 6,000 years. Based off the 6,000 year, you have no excuses. All right. In regards to what the Talmud say or the Midrash says in regards to your intent here on this plane. Your intent here on this plane in regards to uh, uh, pre-requirement when the Messiah turns, which is the year 2023, because we know the year 2023 is the year 5784 in the Gregorian year, which in the Berber year is 2973, which we're in today. Because we know the Berber calendar is perpetual. All right. It's been perpetual forever. All right. And we understand it deals with, as we said, the Messianic age, the return of the Messiah. All right. And the understanding that the Messiah has, and you must have that same understanding that the Messiah has in regards to your studies, because that's the reason why these monasteries, abbeys, churches were set up in the first place to teach you this. And they're not, if they're not teaching what I'm telling you, then they are not the right church. Whether you're going there physically or whether you're going there spiritually or whether you're going there through YouTube, whatever channel that you choose to channel this information, it better be the right information. It better be the right information. And the information is based off the Zohar. And the Zohar is based on what we call cosmogony. Cosmogony. All right, if you visit that. Let's just make sure. Zohar. So all you groups better take a seat down and listen to what I'm telling you. You better listen to what I'm telling you. Hebrew Israelites, you specifically. If you claim to be of the 12 tribes, then you better follow your Messiah. Zohar, splendor or radiance, the illumination, the splendor, the light, all right? The light, not from an abstract understanding, y'all. I can never been more serious in my life. Not from an abstract understanding, because your abstract understanding is based off what you see with your physical eyes, and that's matter. That's matter. It represents density. All right? Light cannot penetrate matter. It cannot penetrate. It reflects it. That's electromagnetism. It reflects. It don't attract. It reflects this light. That's what you're doing. You're reflecting the light of God. All right? And it's full splendor and radiance. Don't look at me. Look at the light that comes through me. Because I'm only the vacuum, the channel for that light to travel through. And once it hits its destination, then hey, that's the end result. My job is done. Because we understand that light travels through a medium. And the light that travels through the medium, the body can't go. The matter, the physical body cannot go where light can go, because we know light is a result of ultraviolet rays that derives from the source. And that source is that ether. That ether that has been denoted to what we call mysticism, spookism. All right? Now, understanding from a science, from physical science. Mysticism is not physical science. Mystical science is not physical. Mystical science is not physical science. Cosmogony is not physical science. You must understand cosmogony and your physical science as it relates to you and the effects that it has on your psychology, because your psychology pertains to your physical makeup. It's the instruction manual for the physical makeup. It's the image. All right? The image. Image comes from the word imagination. The image of the nation. God's nation. God's people. The Zohar contains discussion of the nature of God, the origin structure of the universe. So now God is associated with the universe. All right? The soul, the redemption of the soul is associated with the universe, i.e., the origin, associated with what we call cosmogony. How many of you in these schools of thought claim to be from any tribe, from any student claiming to teacher tribe member understand cosmogony, not based off at being some type of interest, but how does it affect your psychology in regards to the image of why it was given to you in the first place? All right, because you had a lot of images given on Christ that affects the psychology, but the effect on the psychology is not right. You see it today. You see it today. All right. So let's deal with the purpose and intent why you're here is to understand the cosmogony of why you're here. To make the transition out of here. All right. But the only way you can do that is light beings, not dark beings. You're a dark being now. Let's do this. Now, why would they be telling you this in the Hebrew Bible? In the Midrash and the Talmud, they've been telling you to study Zohar. We know Zohar deals with the mysticism concerning what we call the universe, bringing the abstract to concrete. That's what they're telling you. All right? Learning what's beyond the sublunary spheres, because you're on the terrestrial sphere. You want to go beyond that. Europeans can't do that. You come from that. They're trying to get to where you come from. But you can't go back that because you don't understand that because of the image that they portray, which you call light. Light you see is actually darkness. All right? Scientific overview of cosmogony. Y'all better pay attention. We know that the four elements of the terrestrial sphere, such as the sublunary sphere, is such as what we call gravity, general relativity theory. All right, contrast to special relativity theory. All right, they're two opposite sides of the coin. All right, you're on the opposite side of the coin. You're on the downside. You're trying to get on the upside. You're supposed to go through a flip. You want to flip that coin, hope you wind up on the right side. All right? You must understand cosmogony. That's your purpose and intent. The science theory dealing with your physical makeup is based off the effects that cosmogony have on the psyche. Your mind, not your brain, not your attributes or faculties. They are relevant in this case because the law of actions is not rational or irrational to inanimate or inanimate things. You must follow the law of the creator. There's a special science to follow the law of creation as instructed in what we call Talmud and Midrash. And that instruction is to study the Talmud, the study of the universe, which automatically comes down to astronomy, the study of the stars, because that's where you fail. And astronomy cosmogony refers to the study of the origin of particular astrophysical objects or systems, and the most commonly used in reference to the origin of the universe, the solar system, or the Earth-Moon system, i.e. sublunary sphere. The prevalent cosmological model of the early development of the universe is the Big Bang Theory. You hear that? The Big Bang Theory. Y'all don't hear me. Sean M. Carroll, who specialized in theoretical cosmology and field theory, explains the competing explanation for the origin of singularity, which is the center of a space, and which a characteristic is limitless, zero-point energy. All right? Point geometry. All right? The law of geometry. It says, which is the center of space in which characteristic is limitless. One example is the singularity of a black hole where gravity is the characteristics that become limitless, i.e. infinite, i.e. E equals mc squared. E equals mc squared. Energy and matter equivalence. Energy is equal to matter constant speed of light. All right? Energy, matter, the constant speed of light. That would cause the Big Bang. How we know that? It says that one example is the singularity of a black hole where gravity is the characteristic that becomes limited or infinite. This is very important because now you're dealing with what we call gravity. Because it said gravity, didn't it? Everything is subject to the gravitational pull, subject to the gravitational pull, which we call a vacuum. A vacuum is absent of body. You know what I'm saying? A vacuum is able to be used as a transmission medium for signals or waves to come through. All right. And those signals and waves can go through a transmission medium to affect matter. All right. It affects matter. Hell, we see it right here. Stars from three massive galaxies are being attracted by gravity. Gravity. That's what Einstein was talking about general relativity theory. They deal with curvature. Let's prove it. In physics, gravity is a fundamental interaction which causes mutual attraction between all things that have mass, i.e., electromagnetism, the ability able to electromagnetism to be able to attract, to repel. All right, subject to the laws of gravity, i.e., general relativity theory. All right, and that's based upon density and velocity of the objects in question. All right, it says, let's go over. Gravity is by far the weakest of the four fundamental interactions, approximately 10 and 38, 10, approximately 1038 times weaker than the strong interaction of 1036 times weaker than the electromagnetic force of 1029 times weaker than the weak interaction. As a result, it has no significant influence at the level of subatomic particles. However, gravity is the most significant interaction between objects of the microscopic scale and it determines the motion of planets, stars, galaxies, and even light itself. Why? Because gravity is a result of what we call that pull from that which existed, which caused the gravity in the first place. All right? Space and time. That takes us to space and time, or space time. First, let's go back here, deal with cosmogony, as we can see. From a single, this is the radius, the singularity, as viewed as we say, through a vacuum, we can see the distance creates space and time. All right. The further the object is from a gravitational pull from a single object, it's determined by the distance and the velocity of the gravitational pull of that singularity of that object effects on that object. All right, on that object. Once again, Sean Carroll, who specializes in theoretical cosmology and field theory, explains the two competing explanations for the origin of singularity, which is the center of a space in which the characteristic is limitless. One example is the singularity of a black hole, where gravity is the characteristic that becomes limitless and infinite at what we call 0 point energy. 0 point energy is absent of space and time, absent of what we call body, i.e., mass. That's the result of what we call the luminous various ether. All right, because we know before that space, before that matter was there was nothing more than what we call empty space. God said He created you from nothing, meaning He created you from that empty space and created you from and put matter there, which you're composed of because you breathe air to give vitality to that mass. All right, it's a spacesuit, space time. In closing. space-time. In physics, space-time is a mathematical model that fuses the three-dimensional spaces into one dimension of time, into a single fourth-dimensional continuum. Space-time diagrams are used in visualizing and understanding relativistic effects, such as how different obscurities perceive where and when events occur. This is what all these theorists are trying to do. All right, this is what they were trying to do. Luminous phase ether. And closing. Right here. Luminous phase ether, meaning light bearing, was the proposed postulated medium for propagation of light. It was invoked to explain the ability of apparently wave-based light to propagate through empty space, i.e., a vacuum, something that waves should not be able to do. The assumption of the spatio-planium space completely filled with matter, a luminiferous ether, rather than a spatial vacuum, provided the theoretical medium that was required by wave theories of light. Light travels through what we call a medium. We know a medium is able to send what we call signals and waves. It's qualified. A transmission medium is a system of substance that can mediate the propagation of signals for the purpose of telecommunication. All right. Signals are typically imposed on waves of some kind suitable for the chosen medium. So if you are a chosen medium, and as you're saying the ancestors are speaking through you, do that communication because they ain't picking up no phone trying to communicate with you. They are downloading through what they call mental transference. Mental transference is based off not what you see with your physical eyes, because that is nothing more than what we call lights, right? Illusionary light. It's a presumption. It's not real, right? It's not real. We know light consists of what we call the spectrum of light, which we know it consists of what we call electromagnetic waves. It says transmission medium is a system of substance that can mediate the propagation of signals for the purpose of telecommunication. You can pick up the phone right now and call somebody in Omaha, Nebraska, and light travels at the speed of light travels 186,252 feet per second. So we know that light travels quick. All right. It says spectrums are typically imposed on waves of some kind suitable for the chosen medium. For example, data can modulate sound, and transmission mediums for sound may be by air as well. But solids and liquids may also act as a transmission medium. So whatever form that you assume that you're in, whether it's solid, liquid, gas, air, is not the same form for the transmission medium done transmission medium for what we call ether. It's not the same. All right, we must understand that. Signals are typically imposed on a wave of some kind suitable for the chosen medium. For example, data can mediate through sound, and transmission medium for sound may be air, but solid liquids may also act as a transmission medium. Vacuums or air constitute the good transmission medium for electromagnetic waves such as light and radio waves. All right, such as light or radio waves. We know that light can be a form of signal and radios be a form of signal. All right. But we know that they are absent of what we call matter because matter is absent of any body. It's void of any body. Vacuum is a space devoid of matter, as I said. The word is derived from the Latin adjective vacus for vacant or void. All right. Approximate to such vacuum is a region with the gaseous pressure much less than atmospheric pressure. All right. You notice the faster you go, the more effects it have on you as a result of being matter. You know what I'm saying? Is the faster you go, the resistance as a result of the mass is determined by the velocity that you're going on, based off the mass that you have or the mass that you're made up as. All right, and we'll see that when you see people go up into space, you see their facial indentations are changed as a result of the effects of the speed and velocity that they're going to whatever given point that they're going to based off the velocity of that mass, which is required. All right, it says in closing, transmission medium can be used as a form of telecommunication. Telecommunication, often used in its plural form, is the transmission of information by various types of technologies over wire, radio, optical, or other electromagnetic systems. It has its origin in the desire of humans for communication over a distance greater than the feasible with the human voice. But with similar scales of expediency, thus slow systems such as postal mail are excluded from this field. All right, so we know that there's other forms of telecommunications, which we know, which are wire radio waves, optical waves. We know, but there are greater ones for that transmission medium, such as as they said, energy. And energy is what we call electromagnetic waves or signals. All right, electromagnetic waves are signals, and that goes back into enclosing luminospheric ether, which I'll close down on. As we see here, ether was invented for the planets to swim in, to constitute electric, atmospheric, and magnetic influence via, forgive me for pronouncing that word wrong, to convey sensation from one part of our bodies to another, and so on until all space have been filled 3 or 4 times over with ethers. The only ether which has survived is that which was invented by Eugene to explain the propagation of light. All right. It says, where's that? We're going right here. 0 point energy. And that will be my closing. Okay, so right here. Now, we know we're dealing with, as I said, cosmogony. That's what the Zohar instructed you to understand cosmogony. All right. And we know cosmogony, as we've seen it, it deals with the shift to fourth dimension. Let me just qualify it again. All right. It talks about the Big Bang, where stars were affected by the gravity of what we call the wormhole or what we call space and time. All right, move from three-dimensional to fourth dimensional. That can only be done by what we call a black hole. All right, what was that? It says here, the idea, let me show y'all see that. The idea that empty space can have an intrinsic energy associated to it, that there is no such thing as true vacuum, is seemingly unintuitive. It is often argued that the entire universe is completely bathed in 0 point radiation, right? 0 point radiation is ether. Ether. You are made of ether. This is the information that transfers through the medium, through signal waves that I'm telling you or teaching you to remind you that you are not what you assume that you're composed of. Flesh, you're made of something more finite than fleshy eyes can see. Ether. All right? It says physical measurement will therefore reveal only deviations from this value. For many practical calculations, 0 point energy is dismissed by fiat in the mathematical model as a term that has no physical effect. So you can't understand this from a physical perspective, everyone. You can't understand it. You need physical to qualify it, but the understanding must go before the physical, because he who writes your books sets your timeline. All right? Such treatment causes problems, however, as Einstein's theory of general relativity, i.e., gravity, i.e., the curvature. The absolute energy value of the space is not an arbitrary constant and gives rise to cosmological constant. For decades, most physicists assumed that there was some undiscoverable fundamental principles that will remove the infinite 0 point energy and make it completely vanish. All right? If the vacuum has no intrinsic absolute value of energy, it will not gravitate, meaning it won't get pulled. All right. It was believed that as the universe expands from the aftermath of a Big Bang, the energy contained in any unit of empty space will decrease as total energy spread out to fill the volume of the universe, i.e., that was what we call back to cosmogony. As you can see, the example as shown before you. All right, as shown before you. So, in order for you to understand what the Midrash and the Talmud was trying to get everyone who are viewing this lesson to see, based off your understanding of the Zohar, which is cosmogony, or dealing with the astral makeup of yourself and the origin where the astral makeup of yourself comes from. And that goes back to origin of what keeps you bound here, understanding that what keeps you bound here is not what you're made of. The only way you can descend from this gravity is to understand what is gravity. All right? What is gravity? And gravity is a result of what we call matter. And you are not matter. All right? You are not a matter. You just search the matter as a result of your understanding what matter is, and your understanding of matter is based off what the Zohar says, based off cosmogony. And with that of cosmogony, you must go back to the understanding in its most elemental form, i.e., the most cellular lineage. All right, the cellular lineage of where you originated from. All right, because from where you begin is where you're going to go back to, and that brings me to this last definition. Because it said, under 6,000 years, you must understand the myth of cosmogony. All right? You must understand the myth of cosmogony. All right? The myth of cosmogony is based on the fact of ether. All right? That governs the terrestrial spirit and the sublunary spirit, which is also subject to the spirit of ether, i.e., luminous spirit. All right. According to the medieval science, ether also spelling includes ether, also known as the fifth element, sky, or nothing. All right. It's a material that fills the region of the universe beyond terrestrial spirit. All right. The concept of ether was used in several theories to explain several phenomena. All right, which includes luminous spheres ether. All right. Luminous spheres ether. The word in mythological, according to how they explain it in the Midrash, the Midrash, the Talmud, because they're telling you in the Midrash Talmud to make sense of the mysticism concerning cosmogony. All right, and cosmogony deals with the universe and what we perceive as the universe through what we perceive through our eyes, of what we see with the physical eyes or what we learn by what we see with our physical eyes through our mental upload. You understand? Through our mental uploading. And our minds used with information that's given for us to discern with our physical makeup. Because your mind is not even attached to your body, is it? Your mind is not attached to your body. Your mind is your computer. You know what I'm saying? So when you transfer images, meaning to imagine, to imaginate, you know what I'm saying? We call that autobiological memory, the daydream. What they say, as a man thinketh, so should it be. Be careful, what you think can come true. All right. And it might not be your beneficial interest to think of something that might come true. And this is we see happening today. All that we see that affects us today is from man's imagination. All right. But we must go back to the true image of where the imagination comes from, which is the mind of the creator. So in that, we close with the word of Homer Greek means pure, fresh air or clear sky. In Greek mythology, it was thought to be a pure essence that God breathed and filling the space where they live. So the space where the God lived was called ether. And they analoged this ether to what we are subject to now called air, breathed by what we call mortals, being made of matter. And is also personified as a deity of ether. So we are deities, brothers and sisters. We are deities, but we must incinerate. We must shine. We must burn, as it said, this black facade. We must burn this black facade. In order to burn this black facade, we must understand who we are at the fifth element. And the fifth element is the ether that sustains the outer bounds of the universe. All right? The outer bounds of the universe. And, I understand how hard it is for you all to grasp such overstanding, you know. But hey, it says the gift of understanding of the treasure of the creator, and he pours to everyone what matters seems good unto himself. So whatever you think and whatever you can imagine, it's subject to the law of imagination, will be fruitful or unfruitful. But that's up for you to decide. And with that, I say peace.